Have you ever wondered how a simple piece of wood becomes a work of art that, actually tells time? Well, today we're going to break down that exact process. We're going to craft a classic cherry mantel clock and follow its journey from just raw lumber and a blueprint all the way to a beautiful, timeless heirloom piece.
All right, so here's our game plan. First, we're going to start with the why, the whole idea behind this classic design. Then we'll deconstruct its anatomy piece by piece before walking through how you actually shape the wood and put it all together. And finally, we'll see it come alive with the clockworks and talk about what makes a project like this just so special. So first up, let's look at the big picture. Because before you even think about cutting wood, you've got to understand what you're building. And this isn't just a box. It's a piece with a really rich history, and it's designed to become a family heirloom. I just love this point. The mantel clock has such a cool history. It was originally designed for the heart of the home, right there on the fireplace mantel. But what's so great about this particular design is its timelessness. It's compact enough that it brings that same classic elegance to a modern bookshelf. It really is a true heirloom project. Okay, let's get into the nitty-gritty. We're looking at a piece that's almost 17 inches tall, made from that absolutely beautiful cherry wood. But the construction details here, those are the real key. Routed profiles and dowel joints. That's our first big clue that this build relies on some really traditional, hands-on woodworking techniques. So, how do you even begin a project like this? Well, before a single piece of wood is cut, you have to understand its anatomy. So let's break this clock down into its core components and see what really, makes it tick. Every great woodworking project starts with a solid plan. In this case, that means a super detailed cutting list and schematic diagrams. Think of this as the complete guide. It's like the DNA of the clock. It makes sure every single piece is cut to the perfect dimension before you even think about assembly. At the heart of it all is the carcass. That's just a fancy word for the main box, kind of like the torso of the clock. It's the central structure that gives it its shape and strength, and everything else, the decorative crown, the base, the face frame, all of that is going to be built right onto it. Now, here's a really core concept in woodworking. That front frame holding the glass, it's not one solid piece. It's built from vertical pieces called stiles and horizontal ones called rails. It's this elegant, time-tested method for building incredibly strong, stable frames, whether it's for a door, a window, or, in this case, a clock face. When you look at this list, you can almost see the potential, right? It's a pretty simple collection of materials. Some cherry lumber, a little bit of plywood, glass, and hardware. But in the right hands, these humble ingredients are about to be transformed into something, pretty extraordinary. All right, let's head into the workshop. This is where the magic really starts to happen, as we see how those raw boards are meticulously shaped into the super precise components that are going to form our clock. You see, this is way more than just cutting wood. It's a careful process of refinement. First, you get the basic dimensions. Then you cut the joinery. Those are the grooves that'll hold everything together. After that, the artistry comes in, routing those beautiful decorative profiles. And finally, you drill for dowels to create strong, totally invisible joints. So when you hear a term like rabbet, just think of a puzzle piece. It's really just an L-shaped groove cut along the edge of a board. So why do it? Well, because when the back panel of the clock slots into that groove, it creates a super strong, seamless fit that helps keep the whole box perfectly square. It's a brilliant little detail. And now for the moment we've all been waiting for. All those carefully crafted, individual parts are ready. This is where they stop being just a pile of components and actually start becoming a clock. Now, assembly is a really careful, deliberate process. You can't just glue everything all at once. The secret here is to work in stages. So first, the core carcass gets built and squared up. Then, separately, the face frame is assembled. The decorative crown and base are also built as their own little sub-assemblies. This whole approach makes the project way more manageable and ensures each part is perfect before it all comes together for the grand finale. And as these large sub-assemblies get attached to the carcass, you finally get that wow moment. The straight lines of the box are suddenly transformed by the sweeping curves of the crown and base, and you see the classic, graceful form of the mantel clock for the very first time. It's awesome. So, the woodworking is officially done. The structure is built, the form is realized. Now it's time to add those final elements that turn this beautiful wooden box into a living, breathing timepiece. The design for the glass is just so clever. It's not just glued in there, it's held in place by this small retainer frame. That, right there, is a real mark of quality craftsmanship. Not only is it elegant, but it's super practical. It means that even decades from now, if the glass ever breaks, it can be replaced easily. Next up, the gleaming brass face gets mounted inside the frame, and this is a huge aesthetic moment. That polished, warm metal creates this stunning contrast against the deep, rich tones of the cherry wood. It's what gives the whole piece its classic and sophisticated look. Now get this, after all those hours of intricate joinery, routing, and sanding, the entire modern quartz movement, the heart of the clock that actually keeps the time, is installed with just a single nut. It's such a perfect blend of traditional craft and modern convenience, isn't it? So the clock is fully assembled, it's functional, and now we've arrived at the final and maybe the most satisfying stage of the entire project. We're talking about the finishing touches that protect the piece and really bring out its soul. Oh man, the choice of finish is so important. A hand-rubbed tung oil finish doesn't just sit on the surface. It actually soaks into the wood, protecting it from the inside out. You apply multiple coats, you buff them out, and it creates this deep satin luster that makes the natural grain of the cherry wood absolutely sing. This is what gives it that lasting beauty. From that very first measurement to the final polish, the plans estimate a build time of up to 17 hours. 17 hours of focused attention, skill, and care, all invested into creating one single object. And that really brings us to our final thought, doesn't it? A clock like this, it obviously tells you the time of day. But its real value isn't just in the time it tells, but in the time it represents. All those hours of craft, patience, and dedication that went into creating something beautiful, functional, and truly lasting.